Hello viewers. So we in customer service are not here to argue with you. We are here to help you. That's an amazing fact, isn't it? But you have to accept it for what it is. Okay? So you have to just completely realign your mind and your thinking here for this one. So instead of going in there and treating the customer service person behind the counter as your enemy. See, you're treating people who are in customer service behind counters as your enemy. That's what you're doing. It's a fact. They're not your enemy. In fact, people like myself who work in customer service are trying to help you. They've actually given up much more lucrative occupations which they are qualified to do. I've had 6.5 years of university, so I can do a much more lucrative occupation than customer service in a hotel. So if it was all about helping myself like a pig at a smorgasbord, then I'd be doing some very lucrative job, but I'm not a pig at a smorgasbord. I'm there to try and help you. Why? Because that is what my God tells me to do. And my God is Jesus Christ. And what did he say? He said he came to serve and not be served. He came as a servant. It's incredible, isn't it? But it's a fact. Jesus' presence can be historically, factually proven, not only through the biblical records, archaeological records, but even through independent, non-biblical records, like the Torah, which was written by the Jews. I mean, they overtly criticized Jesus and said he was not the Messiah, but the fact is they acknowledged that he did exist and he did appear before their tribunal. So you can't deny that fact. In the Torah it does say that he did appear before them. So he did exist historically. So there's no denying that fact. You then have to ask, who was he? And this is a question that's been posed by geniuses down through the ages. And one of my favourites in a book that I read by Josh McDowell, More Than a Carpenter, poses the question, was he Lord, liar, or lunatic? And I believe, and I know, in fact, from not only from my own investigation of who Jesus was, but from my own experience of having a relationship with him, that he is in fact the Lord of all the universe. He is God incarnate of the flesh. And he did come to earth 2,000 years ago approximately, did die on a cross, was resurrected from the dead, and through that resurrection from the dead was able to provide a resurrection for all of those who believe in him. Just belief, nothing more. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? It opens up, a realm of possibilities. I won't go into it, but there it is. So my proposition is, what happens to children? And many people have asked this question, and they really get very distraught about it, and they get very anxious when people start talking about end times and about the imminent return of Jesus to judge the world. People who have children get very anxious. And even the Bible mentions it, that how bad the times will be for women that are carrying children, during the end times. How hard it's going to be for them, because they're sort of ridden with angst, anxiety, fear, worrying about what's going to happen to their unborn children, or perhaps to their infants. Well, I have a theological answer for that, because I'm not a complete imbecile, believe it or not. I've been around for a while, I've studied a bit, and I've had my thinking cap on for a while as well. I don't just let it be, as the Beatles said, I don't just let it be. I keep thinking, I keep meditating. I've learned meditation processes. I've learned the power of the mind, the silence of the mind, all these kinds of things. So if you can focus your mind in, like laser beam, like someone like Rick Warren says, purpose-driven church man who wrote those books and stuff, that if you can focus your mind in like a laser beam, you can do extraordinary things. And I think the extraordinary thing that I can do for the church is offer them my own theology. I'll put it out there, like Martin Luther, who nailed that thesis to the wall of a church in Germany back then. Justification by faith. That I am nailing a thesis to the wall, and I'm calling it justification by extension. Boom. Nailing it to your wall. Justification by extension. Okay, so we don't need to fear about children, unborn children or infants or young children who have not reached the age of self-determination. So by that, it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? So a person who reaches the age of self-determination, it's a cognitive, it's a mental thing, it's an individual thing. So not everybody reaches the same age of determination at the same chronological time in their life. Some people older, some people younger. The point at which you can make a personal decision as to whether you believe and want to be saved by Jesus Christ, the one and true only God. So if you can make that personal decision, then you've obviously reached the age of decision. But if you haven't reached that point in your lifetime, then you have not reached that age of personal decision. And so I would say theologically that by extension of the decision made by your parents, your flesh and blood is saved by their decision. Okay, so it's by extension. So they made a decision, they followed Christ, they've been born again of the Spirit by that personal decision. So you're an extension, basically, as a child of your parents. You are the physical extension of your parents. There's no question about that. Scientifically, biologically, whatever way you want to come at it, you are an extension of your parents. So, by extension of their decision spiritually to be saved by Jesus, without reaching your own age of decision, then the decision is made for you. So, as an unborn infant or as a very young child who has not reached the age of decision, theologically, I'm proposing my theory of salvation by extension, that these children are saved by the decision of their parents, regardless of whether there's been some ritualistic baptism or anything like that, some sort of similar religious claptrap, let's face it. So there it is. So, as God is my judge and witness, Amen.